Imagine this. It's a cool night. A storyteller sits by the fire. The crackle of half-burnt wood echoes, and the flames dance across his face. He casts his gaze upon the small crowd gathered around him and says, "Whenever people hear the word Hashira, they remember strength, gleaming swords, and battles of life and death. But among them, there is one whose silence weighs heavier than the screams of thousands. One who, even when he spoke, it felt as though tears flowed from his eyes instead of words. None other than Gyomei Himejima, the strongest Hashira, yet his story is one of pain and tears." Now let's go back, far back, to the days when Gyomei was just a small child. From the moment Gyomei was born, he was different. His eyes never saw the world. Darkness was his beginning and his end. When the other children ran and laughed, when the sun set or the moon rose, he could only hear the sounds and feel the warmth or chill of the air upon his skin. Yet even in that absolute darkness, there was a light within him, for Gyomei had learned to see the world with his ears, his hands, and his heart. The rustle of leaves in the breeze, the sound of rain on the roof, even the heartbeat of someone sitting beside him, these became an image more vivid than sight itself. But life was never gentle with him. His mother died in his earliest days, and his father soon fell ill and passed. From the very beginning, Gyomei understood that in this world, he would have to be a mountain one that carried everything upon its shoulders. Years passed, and Gyomei learned to live with blindness. Instead of dwelling on his weakness, he trained his hearing. When children couldn't tell which bird was singing, Gyomei would smile and say, "That's a sparrow, it's singing." And when footsteps approached from afar, he was always the first to know. But fate had even harsher trials in store. Though he never had a real family, destiny eventually brought him to a small temple, a refuge for several other orphans. There, Gyomei became like an older brother. Though still young himself, his heart was kinder than that of any parent. At night, when food was scarce, Gyomei always pushed his portion aside, saying, "I'm already full, you eat." But the truth was, more often than not, he went to sleep hungry. The children soon learned that when they were afraid, hungry, or yearning for a gentle hand on their heads, they could always turn to Gyomei. And Gyomei, with blind eyes but a radiant heart, was everything for them: shelter, hope, and even a small smile amid hardships. By then, he was a young man who had devoted his life to those orphans. The small temple that sheltered them was simple, its walls weak, its roof unable to withstand rain and wind. But to the children, it was safer than any palace, because Gyomei was there. They clung to him. When the chirping of crickets frightened them at night, Gyomei would sit by their side, rolling a large prayer bead rosary between his hands. The wooden beads echoed like a calm heartbeat, lulling them to sleep. The sound of the beads striking each other was like a lullaby whispering, "I'm here, don't be afraid." But even then, demons lurked in the shadows. Everyone knew that remote villages and temples were the most vulnerable. Gyomei understood this well. That is why, every night before sleep, he performed one crucial ritual: burning incense of the wisteria flower, the only thing that could ward off demons. The children, ever curious, asked him, "Gyomei, what's that smell?" "It's the scent of protection and hope. As long as this smell lingers, no demon dares approach you." And so, with the fragrance of wisteria, that humble temple became their paradise. But destiny is always crueler than one expects. One night, one of the children grew weary of it all. Why, no one knows. Perhaps fear, perhaps ignorance, perhaps just a moment of weakness. That cursed night, the child extinguished the wisteria incense. The path into the temple opened, and the demon, like a shadow, stepped into what should have been the safest haven in the world. The children's screams filled the temple. Darkness rushed in like a flood. Before Gyomei could even grasp what was happening, 4 of the children were torn apart before his blind eyes. He could not see, but every scream, every blow, every fresh scent of blood pierced his heart like arrows. "Run! Get out now!" he shouted with all his might. But the children, terrified, fled toward the door. None ever returned. The darkness devoured them all. Only one remained. Sayo, the smallest. She hid behind Gyomei, clutching his clothes with tiny, trembling hands, sobbing, "Gyomei, save me!" In that moment, time froze for him. He felt that if he did not act now, not only Sayo, but the very meaning of his life would be lost. He raised his hands and prayed not to God, not to anyone in particular, but to the power within himself. A power always silent and calm, but that night it roared like a furious fire. And then, for the first time, Gyomei unleashed the terrifying strength that had always slumbered within him. With bare hands, with arms like massive pillars, he hurled himself upon the demon. His roar shook the very walls of the temple. He seized the demon, slammed it down, crushed it, and never relented until the first rays of dawn burned it away. Every blow was born from tears, every cry from the memory of the children he could not save. When the sun finally rose and the demon was no more, Gyomei and Sayo were the only survivors. But that was only the beginning of the nightmare. The temple lay in ruins. The stench of dried blood hung heavy, and silence smothered the air. Gyomei, blind but weeping, sat among the small, lifeless bodies. His massive hands were still stained with blood, the blood of demons, the blood of children, the blood of every hope that had been lost that night. Sayo still clung behind him, trembling. But when the villagers, alerted, arrived at the scene, everything changed in an instant. They froze at the sight, children dead, walls shattered, and before them, a giant man with bloodied hands. What horror is this? What happened to the children? And in that moment, Sayo, the very child who had sought his protection, overcome with terror, burst into tears and screamed. It was him, Gyomei, he killed them all. Her words stabbed deeper than any blade. Gyomei could not breathe. Though blind, he could feel the villagers' gazes of fear and hatred upon his broken body. The villagers knew nothing of demons. For them, it was easier to believe that this giant man had gone mad and slaughtered the children than to accept that a nightmare creature had descended upon their village. Gyomei could not defend himself. His voice faltered, his tongue froze, tears poured from his sightless eyes. He whispered only, I just wanted to save them. But no one listened. They bound his hands tightly with rope, dragging him away like a criminal. That night, the prison was colder than any nightmare. He heard nothing but the echoes of children's screams. Each time he closed his eyes, he relived the moment Sayo clutching his clothes, bones breaking, and her final cry of betrayal. He killed them all. For the first time, Gyomei did not fear his blindness, nor the demons. He feared himself. What if he truly was the monster they believed? Days passed. No one believed him. All were certain he was the murderer. But then, one day, a man entered. His steps calm, his voice gentle. Kagaya Ubuyashiki, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. With a serene smile, Kagaya said, I know the truth. You are not a monster, Gyomei. You are the one who stood against a demon with nothing but your bare hands. Those words pierced the darkness in Gyomei's heart like light. For the first time, someone believed him. Someone saw his tears. Someone felt his soul. Kagaya reached out his hand and said, Come with us. Let the power within you turn into hope, not sorrow. And so, Gyomei's fate shifted from prison walls to a new path, the path of the Demon Slayer Corps. When Kagaya pulled him from that darkness, Gyomei still could not believe he deserved salvation. In his heart, Sayo's cries still echoed. He killed them all. But Kagaya was a man who saw beyond appearances. He knew that behind the tears and silence, there was a heart that could become the mightiest weapon in the war against demons. Soon, Gyomei was introduced to the Corps. On his very first day, everyone stared in disbelief, a towering man, with arms like tree trunks, a tear-streaked face, and lifeless white eyes. Many whispered, He's blind. How can he wield a blade and fight demons? But Gyomei answered not with words, but with action. Training began. Harsh drills, stone walls, running, fighting, the trainers tested his abilities. When they handed him a sword, Gyomei hesitated, then smiled. I don't need eyes, the sound of steel will guide me. And then they saw with their own eyes how his extraordinary hearing replaced sight. When a sword sliced the air, Gyomei heard the wind being cut, predicting its path. When someone shifted their feet, he sensed the tremor in the ground. The training was hellish, yet what took others years, Gyomei mastered in weeks. And when he received his special weapon, everyone knew he was different. Unlike the others with swords, Gyomei wielded a colossal chain with an axe and a flail, strange but deadly. Whenever the chain spun in the air, its sound was a death knell to his enemies. There is no escape. For him, blindness made the chain his greatest ally. The sound of it striking the ground, walls, or even flesh painted the battlefield in his mind. Those sounds were his eyes. And in just 2 months, can you believe it? His name spread among the Hashira. He conquered every test, every mission. Finally, the day came when Kaguya, smiling, said, "From today, you are the Stone Hashira." Many were in disbelief. Some muttered, "How can anyone rise to Hashira in such a short time?" But when they witnessed his strength, no one doubted again. From that day on, Gyomei was not only a warrior, but a symbol of endurance. Just as stone never breaks, so too did his heart stand unyielding against demons. Yet inside, he was still filled with tears. Every night, he held his great rosary, prayed, and whispered the names of the children he had lost. For him, every blow he struck in battle was not only against demons, but for the souls of those children.